Thank you so much for joining us for this special session on nurturing the next generation. The mission of the World Food Prize Foundation is to elevate innovation and inspire action to sustainably achieve food security for all. And at the heart of this critical work are our efforts to empower the young innovators and entrepreneurs who are leading us today and into the future. The U.S. Department of Agriculture is one of our closest partners in this important work, preparing the next generation of public servants and science and policy leaders. I want to highlight 3 important ways USDA and the World Food Prize are partnering and creating shared programming to invest in and nurture the next generation. The Borlaug Fellowship and Scientific Exchange programs are 2 dynamic capacity building programs that are supported by the USDA Foreign Agricultural Service and the Agricultural Research Service to educate a new generation of agricultural leaders. They promote food security, trade, economic growth, and cooperation by providing training and collaborative research opportunities to promising leaders in developing and middle-income countries. These Borlaug Fellows are scientists, researchers, policymakers who are in the early or middle stages of their careers, and each fellow works one-on-one with a mentor at a U.S. university, a research center, or a government agency. We are honored to have with us this week 30 of these fellows from 15 countries. This has been a long time and important partnership, and these fellows will always have a special place at the Borlaug Dialogue. Now, we're also investing in meaningful partnerships and relationships with educators because teachers matter. With the support of a USDA NIFA grant, we are piloting the Global Orientation to Agricultural Learning program. GOALS is a year-long specialized training and international teaching practicum for pre-service undergraduate teacher candidates that are studying ag education or extension. Now, this program is coordinated by Penn State University and the University of Idaho, and we are excited to expand the GOALS program, hopefully beginning next year, to include teacher candidates at the 1890 land-grant universities with USDA's support. With us here today are 24 of these GOALS participants, as well as 25 of our global guides. These are educational innovators from the United States, Australia, Israel, Mexico, and Uganda. Now, another critical way we cooperate is the Wallace Carver Fellowship. This program offers exceptional college students the opportunity to collaborate with the leading American scientists and policymakers through paid fellowships at the U.S. Department of Agriculture. These fellows analyze agricultural and economic policy, assist in the management of food, nutrition, and rural development programs, and take part in groundbreaking field and laboratory-based research. Since 2011, there have been 262 Wallace Carver Fellows from 108 universities and colleges that have been employed by USDA across 13 agencies, 11 executive offices in Washington, D.C., and at 90 ARS research centers and laboratories across the United States. I am honored to be joined here on stage by 2 outstanding alumni of our Wallace Carver program, as well as one of the great champions of these efforts in the American government. Dr. Chavonda Jacobs-Young is USDA's Chief Scientist and Undersecretary for Research, Education, and Economics. Dr. Jacobs-Young, thank you for leading this conversation on the power and importance of investing in the next generation.
Wow, thank you. It gives me chills just hearing the statistics on that. I remember when it was just a vision in our eyes, and so just so happy to be here. So thank you, Keegan. It's an honor to be with you, all of you, and to be joined by these 2 incredible young women seated here with me. As you may know, the nation is facing a looming problem. More and more farmers are fast approaching retirement age. We need to build up the pipeline for the next generation for the ag sector fast, or we're in trouble. According to the most recent agriculture census, the average age of all U.S. farm producers that year was 57.5 years, up 1.2 years from 2012. Continuing a long-term trend of aging in the U.S. producer population. And fully 34% were 65 and above. Beginning farmers, those with 10 years or less of experience, also were older, with an average age of 46. We need to up our game in terms of recruiting and training the next generation. Secretary Vilsack recently announced a new initiative called From Learning to Leading, cultivating the next generation of diverse food and agriculture professionals, or Next Gen, as we call it. And it's focused on creating opportunity for those underserved by USDA programs. The program invests $250 million in minority-serving institutions to create career development opportunities in agriculture for next-gen scholars. This is just one of the competitive funding opportunities that we are currently offering that aim to attract, inspire, and retain talented students at minority-serving institutions for careers in food, agriculture, and related disciplines. These initiatives represent a real opportunity to both transform individual lives and bring great benefit to the nation. And the programs recognize the critical role youth play in our future and the hope they represent for all of us. So you may be asking, what can I do? You can all take action by applying to assist USDA with these programs or working with the World Food Prize in their programs, or by helping students in programs like the Wallace Carver program with learning and experiential opportunities. These students all need internships and chances to be able to expand their contacts and capabilities. If you're not in a position to offer these internships at this time, you're always in a position to be available as a mentor, as a guide, as support. As someone who has spent many, many years of my professional life in agriculture, I know firsthand how important it is for young people to become exposed to the exciting career opportunities available to our field. So without further delay, let's talk with some young people, and let's talk with these wonderful women who are here with us today, 2 alumni of the USDA Wallace Carver Fellowship Program. Sharon Mills is Assistant to the Dean of Retention, Recruitment, and Experiential Learning at the University of Maryland Eastern Shore. She is also coordinator for the World Food Prize Foundation's Maryland Youth Institute and advisor for UMES Manners Chapter. Vivian Bernal is a maize curator and geneticist at USDA ARS Plant Introduction Station in Ames, Iowa. So you're one of us, Vivian. Well, so are you. So reflecting on your experience working at USDA as a Wallace Carver Fellow, how did it impact your education and career path? Let's start with you, Sharon.
So I learned that public service is my duty to my community, and I also learned that public service, in my case, it looked very different for me because I came from a non-traditional background in marketing, and I also did not come from a rural area. I'm from New Jersey, just outside of New York City. So when I stepped into this field, I almost felt like I didn't know what I could offer, but what I realized that I can offer is leading and developing these kinds of programs to put people in a position to solve these issues.
Yeah, awesome. That's great. So what about you, Vivian?
So my Wallace Carver Fellowship was actually at the research unit where I'm now a scientist. So it's been a very direct path and a huge influence on helping me identify what my dream job was. And I'm very honored to now have that dream job and being able to give back to ARS and programs like the World Food Prize that have helped me develop as a scientist.
That's awesome. And so you both talk about giving back. And so can you talk a little bit about what did you learn about the value of public service during your time with USDA? Let's start with you, Vivian.
So public service has been a very important component of me finding my dream job. You know, when I try to explain to other people what I do, I use the analogy of a extension agent for plant breeders, and I feel like that really communicates to many people, especially here in Iowa, what a public servant is and how I contribute to public service through my role at ARS.
Awesome. So being in more of a rural community, the idea about plant breeding, I'm sure it takes on pretty quickly. Let's talk about your experience, Sharon, New Jersey.
Yes.
Let's talk about what did you learn, the value of public service, and how do you communicate that to the students you come in contact with every day?
So how I communicate that to my students, so a lot of my students come from inner city communities, so Baltimore, Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, Newark, New Jersey. So I explain to them that agriculture is one of the most important industries in the world. If there was no agriculture industry, you guys would not have food on your tables. I try to help them understand that every part of your life goes back to agriculture. And once they understand that, that's usually what draws them in. And honestly, that's what drew me in, you know, as a what was I think 17, 18 years old when I got introduced to the field.
So tell me a little bit about how you would describe your Wallace Carver Fellowship experience to people today. So all the people in the audience that we're trying to encourage to join us on this ride, how would you describe your experience? Let's start with you, Sharon.
I would describe my Wallace Carver Fellowship experience, so for my glasses wearers here, you know how before you get a new prescription, you think you see the world well, but the Wallace Carver Fellowship was like getting that new prescription and everything just looking just like 20/20 vision, basically. So that's what the Wallace Carver Fellowship did for me. It definitely exposed me to each agency within USDA, so ARS, NIFA, everything.
I love that. Great analogy.
Thank you.
What about you, Vivian?
The Wallace Carver Fellowship was a great opportunity to really see the depth and the breadth of the programs that USDA offers across the country and around the world. As part of the fellowship, fellows spend a week in Washington meeting with leaders in all agencies in the USDA, and that really opened my eyes to all the ways that USDA impacts people.
So for our last question, we're just about out of time. It goes so quickly. So, you know, we talked about the imperative of training the next generation. So if you were given a charge to this audience today, what can everyone do to help prepare the next generation?
I would say mentorship, mentoring young people. That's what we want the most, and that's also still, as a young professional, that's still what I want. There is nothing more valuable than talking to people who have already, who are already successful in the past that we're trying to embark on. Although our problems may not look the same, and although we may have new things to solve, you guys are, your input is the most valuable thing that you can give to young people.
Love that. Vivian.
I think one of the most important things that people can provide young people is space to collaborate. One of the most important things that I've taken from my experience in the World Food Prize Youth Programs is a network of other like-minded students who are now experts in their own fields and have given me a great base to draw on other perspectives.
Wow, you both are so amazing. So Sharon, Vivian, thank you for sharing your valuable experiences and perspectives with us. You are each shining examples of the impact and value of these programs. Building on the great success of this partnership and on our shared programming over the last decade, the USDA is honored to sign a new Memorandum of Understanding with the World Food Prize to continue this work for the next 5 years. We know that these investments are critical to train and prepare a new generation of public servants in science and in agriculture. And I want to close with a note about diversity. I don't need to convince this crowd how important it is that we attract and retain diverse individuals to agriculture. I love what Secretary Vilsack says. We are striving for an agricultural sector where we look like the people we serve. One thing I know helps, from my own experience when I was young, some time ago, is seeing people who look like you in roles that you aspire to be in. Or maybe they are roles that you don't even know you could have ever aspired to be in. So until you see someone that looks like you in that role, sometimes it's hard to imagine. So please make yourself visible and available to the young folks. Hire an intern, host a student group, mentor a student, or take time to speak to student groups. We need all of you. And so I just thank you for staying with us until the end today and hearing from these amazing women. And now I want to ask our president to come back onto the stage and give us some words of closing.
Well, thank you all so much. Another round of applause for our fabulous student representatives, and there's so many of them. Thank you all, and thank you, Chavonda. We are honored to continue the tradition and build these programs, and we're really looking forward to seeing what we can do in the next 5 years. Thank you.